I want people to see you tell this story. I think this is a wonderful story. Judah's like, why do I say quiet on the set? I mean, that's pretty much what he is alluding to right there. Look, I know Judah Wickhauer so well. 15 years of working alongside each other. Good Friday morning, guys. My name is Jerry Miller, and thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk with Keith Smith. Today's show is a journey, and it's the start of yet another year on that journey. Year number 7 of Real Talk with Keith Smith starts today. And for the past 6 years, I've sat across from a gentleman that I'm proud to call a friend, an inner circle friend. For the past 6 years, I've got a master class on real estate, on negotiation, on crystal ball predictions, on Keithisms over the last 6 years. And it's truly been my pleasure. And when we welcome the star of our show, Keith Smith, here on camera, I want you to congratulate him of 6 straight years of being a talented television and video personality. There's few that can say they've accomplished that task. Judah Wickhauer, studio camera, and now let's welcome the distinguished gentleman, my friend, Keith Smith, to the show.
Yeah, so how do I follow that one?
You follow it any way you want. It's your show.
Man, it's April 2019. You came to me with this crazy idea, which you had this complete vision on what this was going to be.
Kind of. I knew if I positioned, after getting to know you on the I Love CVille show, I knew that if we tailored content around your skill set, which was real estate, and your sparkling and dynamic personality, that the content would scintillate. I knew that would happen, and it has.
Sparkling. I've been called lots of things before. Sparkling is not one of them.
You have an engaging personality.
Yeah. Well, as my grandmother,
You're fun to be around.
My grandmother, who was Irish, would say, "Keithy, me boy, you get the gift of the gab."
You do.
So, and the other thing she used to say, and you know this one because I've said it for a gazillion times, when they vaccinated me as a baby, they didn't use a hypodermic needle, they used a phonograph needle. And then usually at that point she would add an explicitive and go, "Shut the you know what up, kid," because I'd be going, "Ba-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo-ba-doo." But man, what I wanted to do is give you a little bit of credit, right? Because you came up with the idea, you pitched it to me. And to tie it into what we do every day, right? You do on your side of the table and what we do on the other side of the table. Sometimes you just got to listen to people, right? And, I listened, we call trusted advisors. We have trusted advisors in our world. You have them in your world. You were a trusted advisor on this. And I said, okay, and saluted the flag and went on. And to know that we're going to be sitting here starting May, right? Would be the beginning of our 7th year of doing this together. And, without too much additional therapy, there's been a little therapy tossed in here and there. I just can't believe that we've been doing this for this long. And most importantly, the viewers and the listeners have been sticking with us. The sponsors have been sticking with us, because otherwise we couldn't be doing this here and having this conversation together every week. At one point, we were doing it 3 times a week.
One time it was four times a week.
During the middle of COVID,
during
right?
During COVID, it was 4 times a week.
4 times a week. And I'm just super thankful to be able to go ahead and do this. But the viewers and the listeners, I had somebody ask me the other day, why do I continue to do this? And I've said this before. It really makes me better at what I do and help people every day, because what we're about ready to talk about today, which is a big data day, I've been working on this for 4 days straight. Well, since the late in the night on the 31st of the month when the data hit up until today. So I want to thank you. I want to thank Judah, because without Judah, and look at this.
Judah.
He's got his microphone in front of him. Look at him.
You know,
I just wouldn't be able to sit here and have fun.
Okay, greasy. Kevin Yancey, our viewers and listeners are extremely
I like
intelligent.
the haircut too, by the way.
And
Looks
here,
good.
he did not get a haircut, Judah Wickhauer.
You didn't get a haircut?
I don't think it's been cut in
A long time.
3-4 months.
A long time. Well, let's get the Judah
Shows you
camera
how
ready
much
to
I
go.
pay attention to Judah.
Well, this is an interesting springboard into the observant nature of our viewers and listeners as the Judah camera is getting set up. Our viewers and listeners are extremely intelligent, and it's the
Agreed.
water cooler of conversation. The I Love CVille Network and our shows like Real Talk with Keith Smith. Here's a perfect example. Kevin Yancey puts in the
Kevin.
feed, Keith, you got new glasses. I like them.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for noticing.
Yeah.
They're a little. I need a little bit of the microcloth on them, but yeah, thank you.
That literally is a microcosm
Yeah.
of how sharp our viewers and listeners
Yeah.
are. William McChesney is watching the show while pumping the treadmill at ACAC in Albemarle Square.
Good for you, brother.
Other folks watching over his shoulder at ACAC Real Talk with Keith Smith. This comes from Gloria. I have you on the big screen in our living room in our home right now as they are live streaming Real
thank
Talk
you.
with Keith
Thank
Smith
you. Thank you.
above
Thank
the
you.
fireplace. Viewers, go ahead, Keith.
It's just, it's amazing. I bumped into somebody in Richmond yesterday. We were in Richmond yesterday doing super grandparents thing, and I bumped into, I went to a coffee shop to pick up a coffee with little baby Ravenna, and just started doing who I was doing, and they actually watched the show in Richmond. So it's really amazing how this thing has just grown.
Woody Fincham says,
Hey, Woody.
congratulations
Thank
to
you,
Keith
Woody.
Smith. Ray
Could-
Goodell watching the program. Misty Moon giving you some love on
you.
the show right now. Viewers and listeners, we are entering the 7th season of Real Talk with Keith Smith. There are few shows on any kind of videocast or television that can say they have 7 seasons of consistency and production, but Real Talk with Keith Smith is one.
Consistently good.
Yonna in Richmond says,
Oh.
baby Ravenna, Luna, and I are listening in
Yeah.
Richmond right
There you
now.
go. There you go. So thank you, honey. Got to always do that. Thank you, honey. Without honey, I wouldn't be doing this and giving me the time to take it away. So I want to. Can we jump into some data, because
Please.
I've been really chomping at the bit.
Area median income has now officially been released.
It has been, and you've been covering it great during the week.
Yes. Released earlier this week.
So we're up.
125,800.
We're up substantially, in my opinion.
I'd say a jump from what, 124,600, Judah? Is that what it was?
Yeah,
To 125,800, a $1,200 jump is a pretty good jump.
It was 100%. But Jude, if you don't mind, what I wanted to do, and I've been working on this for a couple of days because I know you've been tackling this, I wanted to take a look at comparable university towns. So I went through all the data sources that I have, everything from NAR and Realtor.com and CAR and all these different sources that I have, HUD and the census. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at similar university towns that had similar populations, and where did we line up on the AMI, and where did we end up on the median sales price, right? So I created a little infographic. Go AI.
Go AI.
Go
The
AI.
Shenandoah Valley's finest backstop, Michael Plecker.
Thank you.
Says, congratulations on the longevity and the success of the show
Thank
and
you.
the pertinent content you present.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Being a Catholic, you don't take compliments
Well,
very
there's
well.
a boatload more of those on
Thank
the
you.
feed here.
Thank you. Thank
Holly
you.
Foster.
But hey, Holly, how's it going?
Jeremy Wilson, watching in Cookeville, Tennessee. He says Cookeville, Tennessee is watching.
Thank
and he
you.
loves our content.
Thank you. So
Love
I
you,
wish
Jeremy.
I had some stuff from Cookeville, but let's talk about university towns, right? So I did Charlottesville, obviously, Burlington, which is University of Vermont, State College, which is the Penn State. If you don't, you've got
Which
the.
one?
If you don't mind putting that up, I'd appreciate it.
Which one is it?
Judah, it's the one that looks like this right here.
Yeah,
This
I'm
one.
sorry, I
Yeah.
didn't label that one,
Oh, gotcha.
The only one that looks like that one.
or the only one I didn't
up.
label.
Yeah.
It's up.
It's on screen.
Hey, Judah, can you put this one up? Thanks, Judah. I
Thank you
appreciate
very
that.
much, Judah.
The
Director and producer. It's a critical position of any news station, and he does it very, very well.
But look
break
at-
down the data, Keith.
Look at the next closest one. We go from 125. The next closest one is the University of Vermont, which is roughly 230,000 people. We're 245. But look at the jump between the 125,800 and the $98,000. This is a pretty big jump. It's about 22-23%, if I remember the math correctly. I do want to add a qualifier on the medium sales home price, right? These are only for single-family detached homes. I want to say that again. It's only for single-family detached homes. That's So we don't have attached product or condos in there. And the reason that is, we can pull that data out in our MLS, but when I'm working on these other jurisdictions with Realtor.com and these other, I only could fine tune it down to single family detached. So when you're looking at that 513,500 at the end of last year, it is only for single family detached. It doesn't take into consideration attached or condos. But, you know, if you kind of roll your way down, right, you know, we're somewhere around 245 is where we're at. The lowest number's around 210, which is University of Georgia, which is in Athens, and the University of Missouri, which is in Columbia, Missouri. But I think it just put a pin in why this area is just blowing up. And, you know, I'd love you just read this pretty quickly. I'd love your take on it while I sip my cup of coffee and get a little caffeine going.
So my take on this is it's a double-edged sword. I'm a glasses half full optimist, so I see it as a positive. It's a sign of a strong economy. It's a sign of job opportunity. It's the sign of stability. It's the sign of quality of life. It's the sign of amenities. It's the sign of music and restaurants and hiking trails and vineyards and wineries and cideries. It's the sign of a pedestrian downtown mall. It's the sign of two medical systems. So if you're aging here, you have two medical systems, two medical infrastructures at your disposal. I look at this as a positive. Obviously, there's negative ramifications of this, and that the middle class is being pinched and the working class is being pushed out to even more of suburbia. So they're driving long distances to the epicenter of employment, Charlottesville, if they choose to drive here at all. Let's cut to the chase. One of the nasty aspects of an expensive community is businesses that need labor, hourly labor, frontline labor, are struggling to survive. Restaurants are falling by the wayside quickly in this market. Retail's falling by the wayside quickly in this market. And that's because their labor pool can't afford to live here, and they're tired of driving 45 minutes or longer to work a $15 or $20 an hour job. So people are closing.
I want to add a little context to that. Had a wonderful conversation yesterday with a young family moving out of, let's say, the Northeast to take jobs here. One is a work from home, and the other is taking on a professorship at a UVA. And, you know, had the initial phone interview. We're going to do a Zoom tomorrow and kind of move the ball forward. But what I found in this young couple, you know, they're maybe in their mid to late 30s, have a young child, a 7 or 8 month old child, was their grip on the market reality, right? You know, they came into the conversation like, okay, this is the range we can spend. We realize I can't get it close to the university. I realize I can't get it within the urban ring. And they walked in, the initial conversation was they had a grip on it, and that, you know, we're going to need to start looking out in the periphery, right? Now, that may even not work for them, but at least the initial conversation is that they've been tracking the market well. And you talk about this all the time, how people, unlike the professionals, everybody's been tracking this market. They walked into the conversation. I didn't have to go there. They went there for me, which is going to make this process much more successful and easier on them and moving forward.
Stephanie Wells Rhodes watching the family from the Intrastate Service Company family. Intrastate is a home's best friend.
Yeah.
If you guys need mold remediation, you need work done on your house, the home's best friend in this community, Intrastate Service Company, it's not even close. Know this business inside and out. Trustworthy and reliable. She says, you're not being quiet on the set, gentlemen. Gosh, Judah has the patience of Job over here. And Judah does have the patience. Can we put the Judah Wickower camera on? Do we have that 3-shot ready to go? Yeah. The man has the patience of Job.
Been ready.
And he certainly needs that to work alongside yours truly.
Green shirt.
I think he's looking very sharp, Judah Wickower.
You missed it a few days. That was very much so a St. Pat's setup.
Yeah.
You look a wee bit Irish
I think the only thing green I was wearing on St. Patrick's Day was underwear.
Oh, that's good. That's very
Well,
good.
thanks for sharing
Thank
that,
you for
Judah.
sharing that, Judah Wiccara.
I figured our audience might like to know that
We
as well.
appreciate that. We appreciate
Thank you,
that.
thank you.
The mayor of Gordonsville, Jamie Turner, repping the Pep and Culpeper. I've been watching for a long time and appreciate you
Thank
for
you.
all the knowledge and showing up every day to this show. Thank you, Jamie Turner. Woody Fincham would be interested to see how Blacksburg compares to the Charlottesville market. He says that's a population somewhat similar. He wants to see area median income. I could provide Roanoke if he would like. I got the Roanoke information, and then I can look at Blacksburg because I have the MSA, the area median income widget relatively close, Keith, so I can find that. I can
and
find
the
that.
The question is comparing it to population and stuff like that. So yes, Woody, I was trying to turn it into an infographic that only had 10, but there was a bunch of other jurisdictions that could work. But
So
Blacksburg,
Roanoke, Woody Fincham is 90,600 for the Roanoke, Virginia Metro. The Roanoke, Virginia MSA, 90,600 compared in contrast to the Charlottesville MSA of 125,800. That's a $35,000 plus delta.
and you need to figure out what the population is for that, right? So you have to go to a different source.
I can find the
For that.
Roanoke.
While you're doing that, do you mind me if I run through the first
Oh,
quarter numbers?
please. Judah. So 97,000 and change for the Roanoke City population. I'd have to dig in to get the MSA population. But Keith, you do your numbers. Judah Wickower, I think he's going to need some slides on screen.
Yeah, number one, page number one, if you don't mind. So this is, thank you, buddy. So this is our first quarter snapshot. So we're looking at the Carr region, right? So this is all the jurisdictions, which is your Charlottesville, Albemarle, Fluvanna, Nelson, Greene, and Louisa. So there was a total of 555 homes sold. That's a 2.6% increase over the first quarter in 2024. So we're selling more homes, right? So we've been talking about tempo picking up. Median sales price, again, this is all product types, attached, detached, condos, new construction, is up about 5.3% over the same quarter. So we went from 475 today to 451. I do want to note, compared to the year-end number, we're a bit of a negative. We're at 2.1%. So our end of our first quarter versus the end of 2024, we're in a bit of a lull, about 2.1%. But I also want to point out...
And you got slides on screen for this, right? Okay, good. Fantastic.
I do want to point out, though, is we've got 532 homes currently in pending, which is almost a 9% increase versus last year. So when we start at the end of the second quarter versus the end of the year, you're going to start seeing that number increase. But at the end of the day, quarter over quarter, we are up 5.3% in value. So we were comparing it to the same quarter last year. And we've got 2.6% more up. I love it when you smile. 2.6% up versus the first quarter. Pendings, we've got, as we sit as of yesterday, as of the 31st of March, we had 8.6 in pending. So we got more houses in the pipeline than we had this time last year to close. We're up where we were this time last year in volume, and we're also up in price point. So that ball is moving forward, and I don't think any of this is shocking anybody that follows the show. You were smiling, so.
Kevin, can we put a 3-shot with Judah Wickower on screen?
Uh-oh.
Let me know when that 3-shot's on screen. And Judah, can you remove your glasses, please?
Ooh, this is very specific.
Kevin Yancey believes Judah with his glasses removed looks like Timmy from Rudolph. Do we see Timmy from Rudolph right there? I see some slight resemblance. That's a compliment. Timmy was a very cool, affable, likable guy. Very sharp, distinguished individual. Very handsome guy. Timmy from Rudolph right there. He highlights.
I want whatever gene he has.
Oh, dude, that's why they call him the Young Cowers. Yeah, that's why they call him the Young Cowers. Look at him. The guy looks like he's 35 years old.
I made the mistake. Somebody told me, who talked me into doing this, never go back and look at old stuff.
Yeah, you never do that. No one in the business does that.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
again, that means I'm not that sharp because I did. And I looked at our first couple of shows. You can see the 6 years in my face.
Of course. It's called aging.
Or working across from you all the time.
Jason Howard highlights this. Costco, publicly traded company. Costco is what, a Fortune 100? Is it a Fortune 50 company, Jason Howard? He's the mayor of Rio Road, Jason Howard. He says Costco starts employees at $20 to $21 an hour and gets staff.
Costco?
Yeah.
Costco, the base company is in Seattle. Costco,
yeah.
Yeah,
Is it a
in Seattle.
Fortune 50 or 100?
Oh, okay,
I didn't
got
say
it.
the location.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
He says Neil Williamson wants you to bring back the sock camera. That's hilarious.
Well,
That's a blast from the past.
That's because we compete against Sox periodically, but and he generally wins. By the way,
Neil Williamson, we love you. Jason says Costco starts employees at $20 to $21 an hour, and they get staff in this market. But can your average local business offer that kind of wage? Or is the future more like kiosks, like you talk about on the I Love CVille show at McDonald's? The local business in this market cannot afford to pay $20 to $21 an hour as a starting pay. They just cannot do that. There's few businesses that do that. One of them is Bodo's, and that's because Bodo's is an absolute machine.
Yeah.
They have
Costco is too, right?
Costco's a Fortune 50 company, Fortune 100 company.
But it turns dollars.
That's what I'm saying. Bodo's is a dough-making machine.
Oh, yeah.
A dough-making machine. And they're selling a product.
I saw what you did there.
Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
In case nobody else recognized
when
it,
you're really
I wanted to recognize
when you're really clever with your words, you don't have to say pun intended. But I think the viewers and listeners got it. The thing with Bodo's...
Did I have to back up a little?
I think with Bodo's is they're selling a product, bagels, where the margin is ridiculous.
Yeah.
What's it cost, like a nickel to make those bagels?
I wouldn't profess to know, but I do know enough about these type of businesses. When you just turn, it's all about the turning of
exactly.
Of stuff.
They're making widgets. They're making widgets,
they do.
It's an assembly line.
Yeah. So the secret to that type of business is do something very well.
Yeah.
And just keep
and
on,
repeat it.
And this is the hard part. Keep it consistent.
Exactly.
Every time you show up.
And with bagels, you can do that.
Every time you show up, you want to have the same exact bagel. You want to have, taste the same, is the same color, the same yada. I get sesame. That's what I do. I get a sesame.
I think you're in the wrong spot there.
I get a sesame. Hi.
We got a fan walking in the door. Okay, let's step outside. There we go. We're doing
You never.
We got a fan coming into the studio.
I thought she was coming in to wish us happy birthday.
Okay, I think she wants your autograph over there.
Yeah, I don't think so. Nobody wants that.
I think she wants your autograph.
Even the bank doesn't even want my autograph. So nice job, Judah. Well done.
Yeah, jack of all trades, literally.
Well done.
She did it with a smile when she came in the studio.
She was very pleasant.
She's very
I was a little nervous about what she was holding in her hand.
Smile.
Finish your thought there, Cal.
Yeah. So I get a sesame bagel. That's what I do, right? It's either an egg bagel or a ham and Swiss or whatever, but I get it always on a sesame bagel, and every time is exactly the same, and that's why you go back. And plus, you can get in and out. Want to talk about Almar County?
Oh yeah, please.
Page 2. Am I going too fast for you, Drew?
Kevin Yancey says his assessment has jumped from $188,900 in 2005 to $385,100 in 2025. So in 20 years from 2005, he's gone from basically $189K to $385,000. That's a sizable jump. Shockingly, Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville are way more significant a jump, Kevin,
I'm going to add
than that.
So all that stuff is great.
My jump in Albemarle County alone was 23% year over year.
All that stuff is great. I had a conversation with a couple of my county board of supervisors. In 10 years, the amount of cash that I pay in my taxes, the cash I pay, I don't care about rates and all that. The cash that I pay went from $2,500 to $5,000. I'm going to be considerably over $5,000 when this new budget comes out and tax rate gets set and yada, yada, yada. So in 10 years, the amount of cash I pay for my taxes doubled. and if you don't mind taking 2 off for a second, real quick. So we were having a conversation last Friday, right? And I want to add a little context to it about, AMI and all this kind of great stuff. I think it might have been Kevin talking about you don't have the same services as New York.
It was Kevin.
Or whatever.
Ray Cadell, we'll get to your comments
And
here.
I took the time to call my family, the few family I have left on Long Island, to meet the minimum taxes that they're paying, the minimum, and that's right in Massapequa, is $18,000. That's the minimum. Some of the ones that are like on the North Shore are in the 20s. So I'm not smart enough to do the math per month, but in some cases up there, your tax, now there's 2 sets, in fairness, there's 2 sets of taxes, right? You have property taxes and school taxes, and they get combined together, right?
And that's why the teachers are paid so well.
100%. But these folks' tax bills, in many cases, are more than their mortgage payments. So that's something that was in my mind after that I never got out, so I just wanted to get out. And you can do the comments, and then I'll jump on to page 2. Judah, thanks for going back and forth.
Ray Cadell, watching the program, he's
Hey, Ray.
been in the game for quite some time. And Ray Cadell says, and I love when Ray Cadell offers perspective. As a broker who has made a long career out of primarily first-time home buyer purchases, maybe a couple of shows about how difficult that is here now, where we expect that market to go, how the new construction rental opportunities even are out of reach for most folks, and how if folks can't buy their first home, how are the sellers of those homes going to move up the real estate ladder?
So Ray,
That's a long sentence right there. And then he jokes that was a very long run-on sentence right there.
Ray, come join us next Friday, and we'll talk about it.
Oh, Ray Cadell, you have an invitation to come on the program.
So we've been
From the executive producer, Keith Smith.
We've been talking about this forever, and this is the squeezing out of the missing middle in the conversation I had earlier with this young couple, which are first-time home buyers, right? They are moving from Ohio, I can't remember where it is, down here to buy their first home, but they're walking in with realistic expectations, which is super helpful. So on that note, let's talk about what the prices are doing in some different counties, right?
Please.
Micro markets matter. 2020, page 2, if you don't mind, please, sir. Thank you. Albemarle County, I'm just going to focus on prices, and these are first quarter 24 versus first quarter 25, right? In Albemarle County, the median price has gone up 5.9%. So we're at 555 versus first quarter. City of Charlottesville, we actually went down. So this is where micro markets matter. We went down from at the end of first quarter 2024, we were at 525. We are now at the end of this first quarter of 475. That's a 9.5% drop. I'm going to stop for a second. I think this is just a pause. I think by the time we get to the rest of the year, at the end of the year, you're going to see that number increase. But at this very moment, the first quarter of the city of Charlottesville versus the first of this year versus last year was a drop. Flavanna, this is the whole county. I'm going to pull out Lake Monticello in the middle. We went up 11.3%. So my fellow Flavanna boards of supervisors that are watching this, prices went at the end of the first quarter at 345, jumped up to 384. That's 11.4%. Lake Monticello did a little bit better. It was a jump of 12% quarter over quarter, 317 versus 355. Do we want to go to the 3 other counties?
Please.
Page number 3, and we'll just pull it apart. Greene County, huge jump, 27.2%, Neil. The end of the first quarter, we
Neil
were
Williamson, that's your homestead.
335 to 426. A little bit later, I'm gonna dig into construction.
Prices are not going down, ladies and gentlemen.
Nelson County up 8%. Louisa County went down actually, 6.7%. So of the 6 jurisdictions, the city of Charlottesville went down, and Louisa County went down. I think they're just a little hiccups, and I think when we get to the middle of the year, and the third quarter and the fourth quarter, you're going to see those numbers jump.
Beth Mark sending us a comment to talk about on the show, which we will get to in the matter of moments. Can we say this in a succinct nutshell, please? Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Prices are not going down. Correct?
Yeah. Well, how many times have we said it?
Is there a bubble on the horizon?
No.
Okay.
We have to define horizon.
When is the right time to buy?
Now.
When you wait for interest rates to drop, what are you missing out on?
Opportunity cost. You are losing equity and appreciation.
Do you win by buying now as opposed to waiting to buy?
You always win by buying now.
Because you fix your overhead.
You fight your inflation thing, you fix your overhead, you build appreciation.
There is no bubble. There is no crash. Prices are not going to drop. When rates do drop, if they do drop, it's just going to put more buyers in the pool, and it's going to create more multiple offer situations, and it's going to create more insanity. The time to buy is now.
I can just go get breakfast, and you've got
We
it.
still have folks out there that believe we're in for some kind of...
Yeah, I think that pool is dwindling, right? And we're about ready to go into year number 7. Pretty much the whole 6 years we've been sitting across from each other, we've been talking about the bubbles coming, right? Now, I want to be...
People have challenged us with the bubble is coming.
Now, yes, at some point, there could be a bubble. It ain't anytime soon.
What do we characterize as the bubble? Do they think the bubble's 2008 again? And I understand that I'm saying this as the stock market is hemorrhaging and bleeding right now.
Yeah, so
I understand that.
So time out.
We're at below COVID lows right now. In peak COVID, on the onset of COVID, the markets are in worse shape right now they were when COVID started.
So 2 things: go buy some stocks.
Literally,
Second, go buy some stocks if you can do it, and go buy a house, right? But look, the reality of it is. And I've been doing this for a long time. When you start seeing what's on the screen here, going down, most people migrate to real estate. When the stock market gets a little wonky, people migrate to real estate because real estate on the whole, except for our little time of great unpleasantness, which was a big time of great unpleasantness, generally...
And still in that scenario, the Charlottesville market did not... underperform like the national market did, like most macro markets did.
If we go take a look at the markets, it did. There was a reduction in value.
I get that, but not to the extent of what it was nationally.
100%. We outperformed. It went down,
yeah,
but just not as bad.
Yeah.
Right? The recovery was
quicker, was way quicker than it was nationally.
Right?
So we didn't go as far down, and the recovery was way quicker. And I want to highlight this. It's important to highlight this, and I'm going to toot my own horn here because I caught some flack from folks out and the Facebook world of housing that are proclaimed experts here. The carnage in DC right now with real estate is very real. I'm looking at Bright data, and this Bright data was accumulated because he agreed with me when this came out. Lisa Sertivon positioned this in a very specific way that was good for real estate. And Deep Throat, who is very much one of the smartest people that you will find, period, I hope he hears that, sent the weekly snapshot of Bright MLS service area data. Mm-hmm. And ladies and gentlemen, the week ending March 30th, 2025, compared to a year ago, 2024, there was 28.9% more active listings in the DC area, ladies and gentlemen. 28.9% more active listings. And I'm going to tell you right now, what my prediction, and I said this in February, I doubled down on this at the end of February, I continued with this in March, and I'm tripling down with it in April. The folks that are piecing out if they're able to get out of the DC area, some of them, I'm not saying it's all of them. I'm not saying it's half of them. I'm not saying it's 35% of them. I'm saying some of them will move down here because the housing is more affordable. Is the housing here expensive? Yes. Is it more affordable than the DC area? Absolutely. Want to know what the DC area median income was? The 2025 DC area median income? Judah, do we have that off the top of your head? I can find that out right here. Area median income in the DC metro area of DC, Arlington, and Alexandria was $163,900. Charlottesville was $125,800. Ladies and gentlemen, that is basically what? A $38,000 delta. That's massive. That is absolutely massive. And if you get 500 families, 700 families, 300 families, if you get any kind of families coming from DC with their equity from their house, their earnings,
I'm working on a pushback.
And come down here, it's going to impact housing in Charlottesville. It's going to strain an already throttled real estate inventory allotment. And those are facts, folks. And that prediction was made before everyone else made the prediction. And now they're jumping on board to the side that we stood on when no one else was with us.
Yeah, well, you're gonna hang on a second. I want to check the math real quick.
I got the MLS. I got the data from Bright in front of me.
No. I'm not talking about Bright. I'm talking about what's the new. I'm going to looking up as you're talking. What's the new actives in the month of March in our footprint of last year versus March of this year?
Okay, and I assure you, the new actives in our footprint for March of this year versus March of last year are not a 29%
23.16%.
23.16%. Do it for the week ending March 30th.
No, it's just I did the whole month.
Okay.
I only can do the month in the system I've got. So this is Realtor.com. So where you were talking, I wanted to dig
Realtor
into
and Bright. I'll use those as comparison.
Yeah.
Those are like-minded.
But the point I'm going to push back a little bit on it. It's not quite the same amount, but in our marketplace.
Yeah.
So we're comparing new active. So these are homes that just come on the market in the data I'm looking at, just the month of March, right? Versus this month of March. Last March it was 380. Now it's 468. And if I did the math right, that's 23.16. So let's call it 20% plus or minus.
Okay, so we're at
increase.
30% here in DC.
It's about 10% higher.
Yeah.
Right? More people, bigger market. But the point you're making is 100% right, and we're going to talk about, once I get my right slide here, on the new construction here in a little while. These people are coming down, right? The two buyers, I'm working with 6 buyers right now. Pretty much half are young folks moving into the area, taking jobs, to your point, high-dollar jobs, right? The other one is Keith and Yonna, selling in the Northeast, selling in whatever.
And just moving
with
here.
Gobs of cash.
And restarting their lives, doing whatever they want.
Well,
they don't even have to be tied to the government sector. They come down here, restart their life, and do whatever they want.
Judah, can you go back to this, please? Yep. So that's why we're at 125. The next closest that I dug up, now maybe there's something else, was Vermont, that had roughly 229,000 people at $998,000. They're moving to Charlottesville, everything you just outlined, right? I'm going to go to the opera this weekend, right? You know, you have all this wonderful stuff that you can do. You can go watch world-class, you know, in my opinion, world-class baseball, right? You go for $12, assuming you can get a seat, you can watch, in my opinion, probably some of the best baseball out there, if that's what you're into. Not going to Yankee Stadium or the Nationals, not that this isn't good, spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars to watch a game. I can, for $12, my wife and I have taken my mother and father out to watch a game later this month, a couple games later this month. They're huge baseball fans. For $100, the 4 of us are going to go out and, well, if I can get not drink so much beer. It might be less than $100. But yeah, for $100, I'm watching world-class baseball. Oh, by the way, easy park, easy out, easy home. Go out and get some dinner afterwards instead of fighting traffic in Manhattan or the Bronx. So anyway,
now, this is a conversation that needs to be had. It's not just bullish commentary on the network. I'm not just going to offer bullish commentary.
We do really good. I mean,
I think we need to have a conversation about headwinds. Okay.
Yeah.
And here's a frank conversation about headwinds.
The headwinds is the income's going to go up, prices are going to go up, no inventory is going to go up.
I'll give you a frank conversation about headwinds. Okay. We're working with
I'm going to try to listen.
We're working with a University of Virginia department that will remain nameless.
Good for you.
For finding them let's just say research space. I won't even tell you what kind. Research space. Been working with this outfit for research space since November. Earlier this week, everything's on ice. We can't do it. Earlier this week, UVA, everything's on ice. Discretionary spending, expansion,
But they're
ice.
hiring people because I'm talking to one that's coming in
Depends
the
on
end of this month, actually.
Is it UVA Health that's hiring?
No, this is the university.
Specifically, because there's a hiring freeze at
No,
UVA. Jim
no.
Ryan released a letter
No,
and said, we're
I-
on a hiring freeze. It could have been a hire that was already in the hopper prior to the freeze was announced.
They're coming in April.
Okay, yeah, it could have been that was already in the
but
hospital.
it's also
I'm speaking with another guy
It's
that,
also a
that I will
profess-
that is nameless here. His wife is a tenured track professor, and she basically was told that she's not going to get grant money this summer to bring on graduate students that she needs to pay over the summer. So if we're not mindful that a real headwind is the uncertainty financially with UVA, we're not reading the tea leaves correctly. And I'm not as
But how
bullish
does that impact?
UVA impacts everything.
Okay, well,
UVA is everything.
and that's the reason I did this.
Yeah.
That's the reason I did comparable to, and I tried my very best.
If UVA is not giving cost of living raises or performance-based bonuses or freezing discretionary spending to the point where a department's been negotiating for a lease that's manageable, where they've expanded their current footprint and need more space,
And probably do it
then
cheaper.
surprisingly have to say, no, we can't do it, that's a flag.
Yeah. So to Neil's famous comment, elections matter, and this is what we're going through at the moment. But the reason
Trump is playing chicken with a global recession. He literally is utilizing tariffs as leverage to get what he wants, and is playing chicken. And the risk, if he loses this game of chicken, is not two Oldsmobiles or two Dodge Chargers crashing head to head into each other. It's a global recession. That is the collateral damage. That is the risk. And that's why the markets are, look,
30-year.
we're at levels with the indices right now that we have not seen since the onset of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Facts, folks, facts.
Yeah, so as it's a real estate show, and I appreciate that, and how we're going to turn it back into how this is going to impact real estate prices and so forth and so on. I don't want to make this political one way or the other.
I mean, this isn't about politics. This is just about the economy.
But we weathered COVID.
Not all of us did.
100%.
We certainly did.
I'm talking about the overall economy, the overall market of the Charlottesville area. Back to why I picked these university towns, I did my very best to pick these other towns to see if they had any other major industry. Right? UVA is our industry. Burlington, the University of Vermont, is its major industry. Funny, interesting factoid. Burlington was the birthplace of land trusts. Just think about that. And what do we do a lot of, or try to do a lot of here, is land trusts. And they happen to be the two highest area medium incomes in it. But the birthplace, 20-something years ago, of the land trust model was in Burlington, Vermont. Been there, beautiful town if you haven't been there on that. So look, I do want to take a dive into new construction, because if we all in agreement, at least you and I are in agreement, that there is no bubble coming, there may be a deflation out, there may be a little bit of a balancing of the market going out, and our job, at least my job, is to stay on top of it and report it out. What we're seeing right now, there's a couple of small micro markets that are showing negative quarter-over-quarter growth.
And what are those?
That's Charlottesville and Louisa.
And Charlottesville, we can attribute. Charlottesville, we think, is an anomaly.
I think
This is outlier data right now.
I think that's both of them of that. I think they need to be dug in a little bit. So if you can go to page 4 real quick. So very interesting. Louisa County has been for the longest time kind of the rock star of percentage of growth of new construction. So what you're looking at is just strictly new construction, and we're only looking at 4 jurisdictions at the moment, mainly because Nelson doesn't have a lot of new construction, nor does Charlottesville. So it wasn't worth taking a deeper dive into it. But if you take a look at Louisa County, quarter over quarter, the median sales price dropped substantially from 390, from 443 to 390. That's 53,000. That's $12,000. So why is that? So I took time to actually go out and talk to a couple of real estate agents out there and say, what the hell's going on? What's going on is there's projects that haven't hit the ground yet, right? When that happens, and sections in Spring Creek haven't been developed yet, there's an additional 600 lots left to get built there. So there's projects in the pipeline that haven't gone vertical yet, haven't even gone horizontal yet. You'll see that number uptick over time. But our friend in Greene County, there really was only 2 homes sold in the first quarter, new construction last year. We're up to 12 right now. We're up to $443,000 for new construction in Greene County. And I know because we're doing a couple of them. And they're coming on fast. Greene County is going to explode. Our friends in Fluvanna County, my fellow folks in Fluvanna County, we've had 100% increase in new construction units sold. They're mostly at Colonial Circle. They're up to somewhere around 30, between what's under contract and now, somewhere around the 34, 35 unit range. They got 200 of total. I think in another year, they're going to be sold out. But they're up by $6,000. New construction right now out in Fluvanna County is running you 374. So in any event, you're going to, 380, my apologies. You're going to start seeing stuff go up, and Albemarle County is just a rock star. You know, they're up 68 units are impending right now. They're up 16,000. The median sales price, this is attached and detached, by the way, is 542. So we got to build more houses, in my opinion. Otherwise, these numbers are just going to keep on climbing.
I push back on the building of new houses. And
I
I've
know you
done
do.
that. I've documented it.
So then, Jerry, what's the solution?
I've documented, the solution is economic development, Keith. It's not just build. It's not just strain infrastructure. It's not just put kids in trailers to learn instead of putting them in classrooms to learn. It's not just waiting in traffic more time to get to work and to home.
So it's interesting. Fluvanna students are decreasing in the school system. Right? Nelson County's.
Well, you know why Fluvanna students are decreasing?
Yeah, because most of the people are my age.
Exactly. Because they're the people that are moving into Fluvanna no longer can afford Fluvanna. It's now empty nesters in Fluvanna.
I can't find this information, and maybe somebody out there can help me. I can do it nationally, but I can't do it in our footprint. The average age of the buyer. Nationally, it's 57, right? What is the average age of the buyer coming in to our area? I'll bet you it's awfully close to that, and I'll bet you a lot of it is the empty nester.
I wouldn't take that bet. I think you're 100% right.
Yeah. So there's an interesting conversation,
and I think that's what we'll see with the DC crash, with the DC carnage coming here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's all coming here. People like to pick my words apart here. Some of the DC carnage is going to come here, and any DC carnage that does come here is going to have an impact.
Jerry, I don't care if it's in the low single-digit percentage.
It's going to have an impact.
Huge impact.
Yeah.
Huge impact. But here's something that you're going to start finding out, because I'll leave names out of it, but a couple of Fluvanna County Board of Supervisors and I have been having conversations. They're coming to this like reality. Well, hold it. We've got all these schools that we've got to pay for, and all this stuff, and students are declining. You know, where's that money going to come from, right? So, you know, it's rooftops. I do want to get this out there. You're 100% right. I'm 100% right. Diversity matters. You can't just build houses, right, without the supported infrastructure. But what you can do is have this conversation. There's such an us and them scenario between the people that want to put more product in the ground and the people that don't. And if we can get together at the table and figure out where the common ground is, look, doubled, 2,500 to 5,000. I bet you I'm going to have a 6 in when it's all said and done, of what I'm going to pay in taxes this year. That's $6,000 that I'm going to pay in taxes in my house in Fluvanna County. We talked about it last year when this stuff happened. I could go buy in Glenmore and pay the same amount of taxes.
And you know what? That stings, but you know who that worked in favor in part for? Your parents.
It did.
Did that home just go under contract?
It did, and it didn't. It didn't. So that's two sides of the coin.
Well, you can say it's one of the reasons why they're not in the home. You can also say it's one of the reasons why they got a lot of money for their home.
We were having.
Y'all can also say one of the reasons that they're not in the home is because there's no first floor master bedroom.
We were having a conversation about helping my parents. I'm going to be careful of choosing my words here. Helping my parents with their medical needs right now. And we're extremely blessed because we're 3 miles away, soon to be in the same home. My brother is 2 miles away. My sister is 6 miles away. And in my world, I help a lot of people at that age point move on in their lives, and they have nobody. And it is, if you ever want to see tears in my eyes, that's when it's tears. I'm almost tearing. When you're looking at a young person in their 80s trying to move on in their lives and they have nobody to take care of them in less than perfect living conditions, can't afford where they're at, yes, we can get them money. Then they look at you with tears in their eyes and literally use the words, where the F am I going? They're like, can I just die? Literally, these are real conversations people in my profession have at a dining room table about that. Our county missed an opportunity, and I think it was a huge screw up, to put a 60% AMI run by the Methodist Church apartment facility over by the main gate. Whatever reason, the board made its decision.
Conversation to have with Chris Fairchild.
Yeah, and he knows we've had this.
He's watching.
I am beyond blessed to be able to have my parents with me. Choking up a little bit on here. But Jerry, when I sit across looking at a family, a couple, this isn't about making a sale. This isn't about net income. This isn't about net proceeds. This isn't about commissions. This is about how do I help a family? How do I help somebody move forward? And I don't have the tools to do it. But anyway, I got a little emotional about that.
I appreciate you. I appreciated how you humanize the plight of real estate tax.
And I'm part of the, by the way,
Appreciate that.
I'm part of the problem.
You're not part of the problem.
Yes,
You're just doing your job.
Yes,
You're selling homes at the
No,
best,
Jerry.
best price point possible.
No, Jerry. Yes, I was. Because we built tens upon tens upon tens a year of independent living homes on the first floor. So it gets to this point that it's too late, right?
Yeah.
And if they didn't have that, it was this whole movement back in the 80s and the 90s. It was about building homes that are accessible, right? Masters primaries on the first floor, 3-foot wide hallways, 0 steps, so you can age in place and live.
First floor primary is the way to go.
Well, of course, yeah. Or you keep a house in great shape, it has great features, and you price it right, and it's in a great neighborhood, and it sells in a week.
James, let's get to James's comments here. He says, so Charlottesville is down. Headwinds from UVA and the government. I'm not sure I'm confident in the bullish take at this point. Need more certainty from Washington. He says...
That's James?
Yeah, Turner.
Got it.
He says, CVille down for the first quarter. Caught him off guard. He said, I also thought Louisa would boom with the Amazon investment, so that may be an anomaly. He says, another headwind is no temporary status. People can get a mortgage.
Yep. Yeah. So there's one thing we always have in this business.
It's headwinds.
It's headwinds.
Yeah. First, we should do the Charlottesville one. We think the Charlottesville one is an anomaly. We need to highlight that. Charlottesville being down Q1. Give them the take on why you think this is something
I think it's a one-off.
It's a one-off.
I think when we look at this, I had to report it, right? This is what the data showed me. I think it's a one-off.
And the down is what?
9.5%. It ended.
I think this is a one-off too.
I think this is a one-off. Yeah, I think this is a one-off.
And tell them why you think it's a one-off.
It could be inventory, right? I don't have the inventory numbers here. It could be less inventory. I just don't know what it is. It's just a, look, you got numbers and stats and all this stuff. A lot of this is instinct and gut, right? And feeling on how things are going. I just think this is a one-off. And, I think you're going to see the number switch. It also could be people just want to move the hell out of the city, right? Or just don't want to. It could be the conversation. Here you go. I'm going to try this. It could be the conversation I had with the young couple that are moving here that just automatically discounted Charlottesville, automatically discounted the urban ring because they need to spend under $500,000, right?
You're not going to find that in Charlottesville.
If you look at what's active, you probably can't find it. And that's the other way to look at it. What's active, right? What's in pending and what's the numbers. I didn't do that data search on it. I can surely have it for next week. I'll bet you if I run the numbers next week, they'll look different.
Right, I think so too. Now give them a succinct take on why Louise is down.
I think I did. I think Louise is down as you're in. This I have a little bit more of certainty to. I think there's a slowdown in the new construction there. And I think once that ramps back up, you're going to see that. Because these people coming out of the Northeast, out of Nova, a lot of them are going to Spring Creek. A lot of them going to Zion's Crossroads. You're by your Walmart. A lot of people don't know that there's a dialysis center there. There's a UVA center. There's a Martha Jefferson there. You got El Mariachi, which is a great place to eat lunch that they just crank it out. You've got all kinds of neat stuff there that you can do, and people are coming with the gray hairs are coming in. And, you're quick on 64 from there. And because when we go to Richmond, I leave my car there at the park and ride, and we hop in Yonna's car. 45 minutes, I'm on the west end. I'm down in 30 minutes down in in Charlottesville on it. So I think once you start seeing the new construction numbers perk up a little bit, you'll see Louisa change.
And
but
then
this is what we do. We look at it week over week, month over month, but. And I'm looking at the time here, sir.
Oh no, let's keep going. We're on point here. Neil Williamson has this comment here. We'll get to a couple more comments and then we'll.
You got a big show today.
I do. Well, Bert Ellis is on Wednesday's show, not today.
Okay, got it.
So we do have a big show with Bert Ellis, the fired Board of Visitors member, coming on the program on Wednesday. That should be it's going to be a tell-all interview. Neil Williamson says 2/3 of Albemarle workers commute into the county to work. 2/3 of Albemarle County's workers commute into the county to work. On Wednesday, Albemarle Supervisor Diantha McKeel declared Albemarle County has become Aspen. And then I would say, Neil Williamson, when you're at the Board of Supervisors meeting and seats are available and it's your turn to speak, pass this along to Diantha McKeel, Ann Malik, Ned Galloway, Jim Andrews, Mike Pruitt, and the Board of Supervisors, B. Lepisto Kirtley. Let them know it's not Aspen we have become. Let him know Charlottesville, Virginia is the baby birthed from a Vail, Colorado, Austin, Texas, and Greenwich, Connecticut menage a trois. That's what we have become.
Whoa.
The baby birthed from a Vail, Colorado, Austin, Texas.
Well, there's a
and
mental
Greenwich,
picture that I did not want to have.
Menage a trois.
At 11:20 in the morning.
That is what we have become.
Yeah, well, we've talked about this last Friday or the Friday before. I've been saying trend has always been the case, and you push back, and rightly so. But not at these dollars. These are just huge dollars, and what it's doing is forcing the working person out. When I have a professor, right, and a guy that's working from home, just going, look, we're not even going to look in Charlottesville anymore. We're going to look someplace else, right? Because we know we can't afford it. That moniker's out there, right? When they're looking at the same Google data, Google whatever the heck you want to call it, than we are. We're just taking deeper dives into it, and I get. Yes, we need to figure out different economic growths patterns. And I just keep on going to my county. You know, when you're at 95 or whatever it is percentage of your local tax dollars coming from rooftops, and oh, by the way, Neil will correct me if I'm wrong, something like 80% of Fluvanna County leaves to go to work, right? How do you fix that? I had the conversation with a couple of elected officials in my county, and I said, you know what, in 1968 and 69, when they built 4,500 lot subdivision, what the hell did you think Fluvanna was going to become 20, 30, 40, 50 years later? Fluvanna is a bedroom community. It is what it is. You'll probably get some economic growth. Our footprint in Zion's Crossroad is laughably small for commercial, right? And oh, by the way, it's way off of 64, right? It's not right on 64. So, I mean, it is what it is. I'll kind of end with this. I was asked the other day, why? What's going on? Why? And I look at our MSA and some of these other MSAs, and I have to take a deeper dive into them. Kind of like that 16, 17, 18-year-old kid, right? They want to be something bigger, but they don't exactly know how to get there. And oh, by the way, they think they know everything until they don't. When you start looking into these larger MSAs that have, you know, multiple hundreds or millions of people, they've kind of grown up. They become that 27, 30-year-old. I know this sounds like a weird explanation.
No. I totally get what you're doing here. It's a good one.
To it, but that's kind of what it is. So we are stuck in this teenager years, right? Graduating high school, going, oh, what the F am I going to really be? And all of a sudden, the real world is hitting. Well, the real world is the numbers we're looking at. The real world is our MSA is 20 some odd percent area, even higher than the next closest one, based on the information I found.
That's a great point. Finish your point. It's a great point. We want to live in a.
You interrupted me, and guess what happened?
We want to live in an area where we have the best restaurants and the best music scene and the best hiking and the best breweries
and guess
and
what
the best
it does?
Wineries and the best cideries.
And guess what it does?
And we want to have the #1 university in the United States of America
and
hedge funds and 5 billionaires. And we want to live in an area where biotechnology is emerging and the government spy sector is $1 billion plus economic driver. This is the result of that, folks.
The question now
we have all made this bed.
And, well, that's exactly, I didn't do it as well as you did. That's exactly to the comment I had, you know, man, when there was 4,500 lots built in the middle of Fluvanna County, right, that eventually...
In 2008, 2009, we all wanted this.
I tell this story, we lost the listing because I was a little too direct. There was a Lake Monticello house. People wanted us to do it. We went to go see it. She's been there for 30 years. There was 2 vacant lots to the left and right of her for 30-something years. And I've almost said the name of the company, but a local builder, actually out of Richmond, built 2 houses next to her. She goes, I got to move, too many people coming in here. And I was like, what did you expect to happen to the left and right? Oh, by the way, at one point in time in Lake Monticello, you could have bought lots and combined them.
For what? Lots were selling what, 5K? Wasn't it?
Oh, when I first came in, don't even go there.
Wasn't it 5K?
Yeah, but I paid $44,000. Shows you how smart I am. But yeah, $4,000 to $8,000 to $6,000. But during that 30 years, she had multiple opportunities to buy the lots, and she chose not to do it for whatever reason. Probably didn't have the money to do it. Clearly, that was not what she wanted to hear, and that's okay.
Yeah. That's why I like working with you. You're straightforward.
But
that's why I like Bert Ellis. Straightforward.
So when UVA is growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, where was I the other day? A section of UVA that I have not been. Over by Fontaine. I haven't been over there in a while.
Place is nuts.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I had to do my
wait till the Paul
Manning
had to do my
MRI on Monday. Yeah.
Wait till the Paul Manning Biotech Research Park is done. Dude dropped $100 million to fund a research park.
So we're at 11:25, and you've got to get.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say this because I'm a little stubborn. I'm a Marine. But I'm going to keep on trying to make it better. I'm going to keep on trying.
I respect that.
To figure out a way to make this a little, make housing a little bit more affordable or through this. We're going to keep on plugging numbers. We're going to keep on doing it. I'm going to keep on sitting on boards. I'm going to keep on being the person in the room doing whatever I do, plus help people buy and sell.
It reminds me of this. You go to the pet store as you were a kid. Remember when we were kids?
No, we were not allowed to go to the pet store.
Remember when we were kids, the pet store used to be in the mall? You used to go to like the Coliseum Mall or the Fashion Square Mall.
Clearly, you didn't grow up in the city in the 60s and the 70s.
When I was a kid,
You went to the
and
back
viewers
alley
and
to pick up
listeners
a cat.
would know this. The pet store used to be in the mall.
Yeah.
And they'd have a bunny rabbit section. And in the bunny rabbit section, they'd have the male bunny rabbits and the female bunny rabbits in separate crates.
Geez, I wonder why.
And I would ask, why is the male bunny rabbit and the female bunny rabbit in a separate crate? The pet store manager said, son, if you put the male bunny rabbit and the female bunny rabbit in the same crates, we'd have a lot of bunnies. And we don't have the space for a lot of bunnies. This Charlottesville is akin to the mommies and daddies and the kids that go into the pet store in the mall and they buy a male bunny rabbit and a female bunny rabbit and they put them in the same crate. And they're surprised when they have a bunny rabbit litter. What do you think is going to happen in Charlottesville when 20 years ago you started politicking through public relations, putting CVille on the best place to live list, touting the University of Virginia, touting restaurants, music, the pedestrian downtown mall, wineries, breweries, cideries, mountain biking, hiking trails, and all the amenities we have.
So we had.
This is what's the result.
So
the male bunny rabbit and the female bunny rabbit in the same crate making babies, and Charlottesville being expensive.
So hold on a second. This is what I heard. So we had two references.
We can't complain about something we caused.
We have two references to reproduction.
We can't complain about something we caused. I've
Wait.
been here 25 years. We all knew this was going to happen.
Do you think that? Do you think people really? I know I did, but now to this level, to your point, right? To your point, right? If you made it a bunch of shows, this is on a level that I knew we were always going to increase, right? But to the level that we're 20-something% higher than the next jurisdiction, MSA. That's basically similar in size, similar.
Albemarle County is buying disregarded and crappy acreage from Wendell Wood to build Rivanna Station to keep the spy and government sector in Albemarle County.
So what do they?
Spending taxpayer dollars to keep the government sector in the county because they know the economic value it has for Albemarle County. It was a genius move.
So
but we can't then say the government contractors are causing the cost of living to go through the roof.
And to our comments about Greene County blowing up, that's why I know Greene County is going to blow up. And I know that there's...
We can't then say we have a housing affordability issue. We caused it.
Yeah.
We caused it.
Yeah. Up,
And
and it's 11:29.
yeah, it's...
But yes.
As a businessman, I understand the concept of cause and effect.
100%. And as good humans, we're going to try to at least show up to the fight, right?
For me, showing up to the fight is creating economic development for my community, driving economic prosperity for my community.
But then you got this double-edged sword, right? So let's talk about what you just...
It's not handouts.
Oh, yeah.
It's economic prosperity.
Yeah. I'm a free market capitalist.
Hand-ups, not handouts.
100%. But back to your comment about Rivanna Station growing and all this kind of great stuff, right? So they're coming here knowing, believe me, that's going to grow knowing that there's between 1,800 to 2,500 new residential units coming in Greene County. Because somebody, which is way smarter than me, figured out, okay, well, that's where the people are going to live. Because most of the people that go there relocate from someplace else, right? They're bringing people in. Where are they going to go?
How much of that housing is being built by Stanley Martin?
So there's Stanley Martin, Ryan, there's two other builders out there, the names escape.
Are they local?
No.
Stanley. Oh, so all the builders that are.
Well, no. I lied to you.
Southern?
Southern.
Okay. So Southern has got it dialed in. Charlie and Frank
So I think
got
they're
it
just
dialed in.
Yeah.
Better than just about anybody
Don't
here.
quote me on this,
Okay.
but I think they're just doing the development side.
Stanley Martin and Ryan. We're talking
National, well, Eastboard,
production builders of
Sure.
multi-billion dollar clips
100%. 100%.
with data analytics at their disposal
100%.
and able to predict what's going to happen before anyone else figures it out.
I've been in rooms
Right.
with these folks that they know
Decades before.
within a penny
Yeah,
of how this is going to go.
exactly.
So yeah, 100%. It's why they're doing what
They
they're doing.
win.
It's a reason. Yeah,
That's why they win.
It also brings a whole different story up that I had a great sit down, by the way, with NOLA Build. So I'm going to give them a plug. They're a wonderful, wonderful group of folks over there. But you know, in the time of great unpleasantness, the small developers and builders like myself
Got eviscerated.
100%. And then the big guys came in because they all had cash and they were
Then
doing it.
ate everybody's lunch.
Yeah, but I'll be honest with you. If I was still in the development game, I shouldn't be in the game, right? Because in order to do it now, you have to be, let me get this out, you have to be those guys because the cash that it's required.
You have to be at that scale. What you would have done differently if you were at the development game is you would have not stretched yourself as thin. You would have been more nimble, would have had a healthier balance sheet, and you would have gone more into the custom space.
No, what I would have done if I was still in the game, which surprises me is I would start doing more of the buy rights out in the rural areas. If you're a small
That's
developer,
what I was trying to do on East High Street.
yeah, that's where you need to, that's where the small to medium developers are going. Open up the book, what's my buy right? And even then it takes forever to get cars. And they're small and nimble, they can do it. The big guys will never do it because they got to have hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah, there's
and
not
hundreds.
enough margin.
They just need volume in order to crank that up. But
This is a great show.
Thank you.
Fantastic show.
Yeah, I
Keith
love it.
Smith was absolutely on point today. Fantastic work from Keith Smith. Online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. This entire show is archived online at realtalkwithkeithsmith.com. And the hour and 15 minutes of content we just hosted a masterclass on real estate in 2025. And it's led by Professor PhD Keith Smith over here. Professor PhD Keith Smith. Judah Wickhauer behind the camera. My name is Jerry Miller.
Judah, thank you.
I Love CVille show is up at 12:30 p.m. and don't miss it. Thank you kindly for joining us so long, everybody.
Thanks, buddy.
That was awesome.
Yeah, I love it.